Hi, my name's Sarah Starr, and I love the topic this week. It is all about falling in love with your food again, having a mindful eating experience, and really just like loving this essential part of your life. Food is important. It's something we all need to do. It's just like breathing. And so a lot of people in this culture, including myself, were raised with a lot of kind of stressful feelings towards foods, and maybe I should eat, maybe I shouldn't eat. I don't, we have all these concepts that can hold us back from really just loving food. And the more we can love and appreciate and savor our food, the healthier relationship we have with it. So that's what we're going to be going over today. We're talking about how to overcome food scarcity, how to mindfully enjoy sweet foods and desserts, how to notice during your meals whether or not you're engaged. All right, so we'll start the slideshow. Here we go. And all right. So there are 3 reasons that we typically might want to eat. Today, I'm focusing on reason number 1, physical hunger. The other 2 reasons that you might want to eat are desire to eat or emotional eating. This is basically any emotion like, oh, I'm excited, I'm stressed, I'm lonely, I'm scared, I'm bored. A lot of those feelings can trigger a self-soothing mechanism in your brain, which can be eat something. And that's a different topic for a different day. The third reason we might be wanting to eat is cravings. And I find cravings so funny. A craving is typified by you weren't thinking about a food, suddenly you drive by Carl's Jr., bam, you want a chicken cheeseburger. Oh my gosh, there's a strong feeling at the back of your throat. It's like a pulling, your mouth starts salivating, and you literally only are having this reaction because you saw Carl's Jr. You weren't physically hungry, you weren't emotional eating. And the truth about cravings is if you keep going down the road, 90 seconds later, the craving will dissipate. It'll be like it never happened. So physical hunger, on the other hand, is where it's been maybe 2 to 3 hours since your last meal. Your blood sugars are starting to come down a little bit. There might be a pinching in your stomach. You might be feeling your energy starting to go down. It is just physically time to eat. So let's dig into what happens when that happens. So a really important question that I like to ask myself when it comes time to eat, instead of asking, what do I want to eat? I like to ask myself, how do I want to feel? Because your food translates into how you feel. Do you want to have a good day? Do you want to have energy? Do you want to feel lethargic? Do you want to have your sugar craving turned back on? Do you want to be hungry 45 minutes later? Depending on what your nutritional goals are, there's going to be different elements in the meal. And if you need help with that specifically, coming up with your nutritional plan, let me know and I can help you come up with that. For me, though, this morning I had gone to the gym and I got a really good workout in, and I got home and the question, how do I want to feel, came up. And you know what? I wanted to continue building the muscles. I wanted to keep the energy level. I didn't want to feel overly full. I wanted to feel satisfied with the food I was eating. I wanted to feel fresh. I wanted to feel natural. So I put together a big chicken salad with some fresh tomatoes cut up in there, a little lemon, Italian vinaigrette on top. It was a delicious meal. I had a pear on the side. I ate it. I didn't feel overly full. I've been energized for a few hours now. I'm really, really happy with that meal and how it made me feel. So start plugging in this question when you go into your kitchen. How do I want to feel? And choose your food according to that parameter. Now, the fully sensual meal is really, really fun. If this is a new concept to you, I would encourage you to practice with 1 meal a day on this fully sensual meal. Typically, I recommend 3 meals a day that you are actually sitting down for, showing up for, and being engaged with. If this is a new concept, though, just start with 1 meal a day. Maybe it's lunch, maybe it's dinner, but it's a time when we can really practice this concept. And basically, we want to get as many senses as you can involved in the meal. So let's say that I'm sitting down and I'm going to have a big chicken sandwich. Before I even eat the sandwich, I'm just going to look at it. And I'm going to be just grateful for it. I'm going to think about it and like how excited I am to eat it. I'm probably going to hold it up to my face and give it a big smell. What does the bread smell like? What does the chicken smell like? How does it feel in my hands? How do I want it to taste? How does it look like it's going to taste when it hits my tongue? And really have an anticipation of how it's going to taste. And then I take that bite. Like, how does the bite feel? What is the sound of the bite? How does it feel in your mouth? Really chew it, enjoy it, swirl it around in your mouth. How does it feel going down your throat? Are there any sounds you want to make while eating this food? I am pretty noisy when I eat food. I really enjoy it. I get very sensually involved. So I'm just like, oh my God, it's like lots and lots of sounds. My kids get really annoyed with me. Sometimes they tell me to stop making so much noise, but I really like to just be like, oh yes, like it tastes so good. The other thing about this fully sensual meal, sometimes you'll take a bite and it doesn't come close to your expectation. That chicken that you got, maybe it was overcooked or dry. Maybe the bread's a little bit stale. So when you're fully sensual with your meal, you might take that bite. And if you weren't paying attention, you might just eat it up. But paying attention, you might realize, oh, this isn't actually as good as I thought it was going to be. I'm either going to make something else or I'm just not going to eat as much of this. So when you're fully present, it's going to slow down the eating process. It's going to signal to your brain faster because you're getting all your senses involved that you're satisfied. So you're going to need to eat less than you might otherwise if you're an overeater or compulsive eating. But I would really encourage you, practice this fully sensual meal and start noticing the outcomes from that. Now, for those of you like me who grew up with plate cleaner mentality, let's go over a few things with this. There was 9 kids in my family, and we had a babysitter named Mrs. Robinson who would come and help and feed us a lot. And I remember Mrs. Robinson, whenever it was dinner time, she would put the food on the table and she would say, there's 2 kinds of people in this world, the quick and the hungry. If you ain't quick, you hungry. And we just had to go for it. You get as much food as you can, make sure that you have enough before someone else took more. You eat as fast as you can in case you want to have more, and then you can take more. And my chronic plate cleaning mentality later led into a binge eating addiction. So plate cleaning can be really, really troubling. It's not about how satisfied you are with the food you have. It's about finishing an entire portion or finishing all the food. Think about if you take your car to the gas station. My car has a 15-gallon tank. So I put the gas pump in the car and it fills up those 15 gallons. But guess what? There's still more gas at the gas station. I don't want to leave with leaving any gas on the table. So I keep the pump going and there's gas spilling all over the floor because what if I need more? This is what it's like when you're a plate cleaner. Your body can only process so much of this food as energy. Usually around 300 to 500 calories will actually turn into energy. Anything more than that at a single meal, if you keep putting it in, it just gets stored as fat. And so it's really not serving you at all. It's just spilling all over the floor like that gas station. So if you're experiencing chronic plate cleaner, here's a really good tip and a way to scale down from that. Leave 1 bite on the plate. Practice with just 1 bite. Maybe take a week, maybe take 2 weeks of just practicing leaving a single bite. And it's going to feel weird at first. You're going to feel a lot of anxiety about that last bite. You're going to be like, oh, I should just eat it. I don't want to waste it. But practicing leaving that bite is going to start teaching your brain to calm down. You're going to be okay. There is enough food. You're not going to die of hunger. That you're going to be fine. Your body is nourished. Practice leaving that 1 bite until you're feeling a little more calm about it. Then once you've got good at this, practice leaving 1 bite of each different element of the food. So maybe a bite of the salad, the potatoes, the meat, the fruit. And then once you've practiced and mastered this, it becomes a lot easier to move into this next technique, which is called the eating pause. So once I explain this, you're going to start noticing it everywhere, restaurants, with yourself, with the people you're dining with. But typically people sit down to eat and they're having a meal and maybe they have this plate loaded up with all this food and you start to eat. Usually about 20 minutes into a meal, the eating pause happens. And this is where you just sit back for a second, maybe put your silverware down and just take a breath. It's just a little pause. This is actually when your brain signaled to you that you are nutritionally satisfied. You haven't overeaten, your stomach doesn't hurt yet, but you probably have ingested just enough food and your body is at that satisfaction level. Now, a lot of people were taught that unless you feel full, you're not done eating. So a lot of people, after taking this pause, they won't really notice it. They'll take a breath, sit back up, and then finish eating and finish the plate. Again, this is just the gas spilled all over the floor at the gas station. This is food that is going to waste. It is not going to fuel your body. It's not going to give you extra energy. It's just going to be stored as fat. So start to notice this eating pause. You've gotten better now at leaving the food on the plate with that previous technique. And then with the eating pause, sometimes you're even leaving half of the food still on the plate. It really, with portions as they are in America, a lot of us are eating portions way, way too big. So the eating pause and the sensual meal to slow you down and then to notice the pause is a great tool to help you eat to satisfaction where your body is in this really healthy spot. All right. Now, what about food that you don't want to eat for physical hunger? What about food that is a little bit more fun? Sometimes there are foods like this beautiful cake that we don't need for nutrition. It's not going to necessarily make us healthier, but there are choices where we just want to try something. I love tiramisu. It's my very, very favorite dessert. I have a very high expectation for tiramisu. I realized that I like it for two things, the texture and the flavor. I'm not eating it for nutrition, so I don't even think about that, the calories or the carbs, but I do really appreciate the texture and the flavor of it. Now, practice this next time you want to eat something sweet or that's off your plan. In 2 bites, see if you can get full enjoyment out of the texture and the flavor, because guess what? Your brain will never get more satisfaction after the first 2 bites. Think about that very first bite. It's like, oh, right? And then even in the second bite, you can still get a lot of that, but it's decreasing returns after that. So just because there's a huge piece of it, it's not going to get better after the first 2 bites. The 2-bite rule really, really helps you appreciate these special foods for what they are at their special times, and get full enjoyment out of them. So if you do choose to have a treat like this, split it with a friend, take some to go for later, put it in the trash when you're done. But using the 2-bite rule can help you appreciate texture and flavor in a much more mindful way that, again, doesn't leave you feeling sick afterwards. Okay. Also, for those of you who might be eating bigger portions than normal, I just want to remind you, food waste is something that, we hear that you don't want to have food waste, right? You don't want to overshop. You don't want to waste these resources because we're lucky to have food, right? It's a privilege to be able to buy and consume food. But this can lead to a toxic mentality of not wanting to waste food. So here's the thing. Once you've eaten your full portion, you've hit that eating pause and you've taken a break, any food you eat after that is food waste. And you can either treat your body like the trash can, or you can treat the trash can like the trash can. Personally, I like to remind myself my body is not a trash can. So if I've gotten to that point where there's extra food on my plate, I look at it and I think this is either going to go back in my fridge and saved for another meal, or it's going to go to waste. And do I waste it in my body, or do I waste it in the trash can? So just remember, your body is not a trash can. And sometimes food waste happens. And is that going to be okay? And do you want to make it worse by putting it in your body? I hope not. Finally, let's set the setting for these amazing meals that you're about to have. So think about your dining area. Where do you eat in your house? Do you have a dedicated space for dining? Is there somewhere that you can do these sensual meals at? How appealing is your dining area? I love to have cheap flowers on my table. I always just pick up a little $7 bouquet at Sam's, and I always have flowers on my dining table. I try to keep that space clear. I don't store things on there throughout the day. I have nice little placemats. It's a really dedicated small area, but it is dedicated to having mindful meals. Something else that can really decrease from your ability to engage with the meals are television. Do you have television on when you're eating? Is the phone at the table? Turn off the TV, put your phone on silent. Really take the space and time so that you can be mindfully present. My kids know that when we sit down at the table, there are no phones there. And we take a moment before the meal. In our family, we do best, worst, and most interesting at dinner. So before we eat, we go around the table and everyone says the best part, the worst part, and the most interesting part of the day. It's just a little bit of a pause, and it makes us mindful. It's our ritual for eating our food. Some people like to pray. Some people like to express a gratitude. Think about something you can do to just have that mindful moment before you start the eating experience. And then we talked about this a little bit last week. Look at your dining plates. If you can, get 9-inch plates for this meal. A 9-inch plate is going to help you manage portions a lot better if you're struggling with portions. Use silverware, even for things maybe sometimes it might feel a little silly to use with silverware. Try using silverware on a sandwich. See if that helps you slow it down for the mindful meal a little bit better. Changing out red and yellow colors in your dining area with blue can also help you be less mentally triggered by wanting to overeat. There's a reason McDonald's and so many other fast food places have red and yellow as their colors, because it does make your brain want to eat more, whereas blue will naturally decrease that desire to eat. The other thing is keeping the lights bright. a low dim limit meal, you can't be as sensually interactive. And so you will eat more. There's a reason restaurants like to keep the lights really, really low. You will eat more. So turn the lights up, look at what you're eating, be engaged. And then finally, keep any serving dishes off the table. Go in the kitchen, mindfully make one plate, bring it to the table, and you get one meal. There's no reason you need to eat double dinners. There's just not. So those are some tips this week on how to just start falling in love with your food again, showing up, noticing the dining experience. I hope this has been helpful. If you can, go to the video description, and you'll find the worksheet for this week's lesson. And it's some ways that you can start applying the things we worked about, kind of some thought exercises on what we talked about here. So go ahead and print this out. It's going to have you practice a fully sensual meal and see what you notice with that. I love helping people with their health goals. If you would like private or group coaching from me in the future, please reach out. Let me know. I've been coaching since 2012. I love helping people get healthy food mentalities, getting them on right nutritional plans for their goals, weekly accountability, coaching. You can find more information at my website, sarahstarcoaching.com. And I hope you have a great week.